Hi, this is Gloria Taylor Brown, and I'm bringing you once more another priestess from the West Coast EcoFeminism Conference 2015. We have with us here today Lina Gupta, and Lina is one of the speakers at the conference, and we're delighted to have her speaking here at the Goddess Temple of Orange County. And it's she's going to be talking a little bit less about some of the other things we've had in these other conversations, and we'll have some interesting information for you, so stay tuned. So Lina, tell me a little bit about yourself.
I was born and raised in India. I finished my master's there, and then I came here. That was many years ago. And I did my PhD at Claremont University in California, and since then I taught at casted system for many years, and then Loyola Marymount for a couple of years, and then finally I settled down in Glendale College, and that's where I've been teaching for many years, and I'm the chair of the philosophy department. My degree is actually in comparative philosophy, but really then kind of tags along, I think, a little bit of it. But being Hindu, and up until my master's, Hinduism was included in the curriculum anyway, so I was trained in that too. But I primarily teach comparative philosophy and ethics, but my major preoccupation research-wise is on ecofeminism and Hinduism.
So, please excuse my ignorance, and tell me, I don't know where the place in Hinduism a woman is, so and how it interrelates with the ecofeminism.
Well, that's really a multi-pronged question, and I'm sure within the range of this interview I wouldn't be able to answer it in a satisfactory manner, but we're looking at 5,000 years of history, culture, and custom, and therefore women's position changed over the years. And in medieval age, AD period, it became very oppressive. But then again, it's not just to women. The system was oppressive. It was also different castes, or in different areas of life, people are oppressed. So oppression, even though it is a misconception, and that's what I think, and most Hindu feminists would say the same, that Indian women, like the rest of Asia, they are very heavily oppressed and very submissive by nature. Well, Durga kind of defies that.
Okay.
Who we are, you have to live there. I met an American woman last week. Her son, I got to know her son kind of through another friend. So she's American, her husband was Indian. Came from pretty much the same area I was born and raised. His son was born there. So son is in his 30s now. It was very interesting, his remark. And he graduated with anthropology or something. And he was telling me his master's, and he said to me, I don't know why everybody thinks that Indian women are oppressed. I was born and raised there. And then last week I met his mother. She's American, and she said, I lived there. That isn't true at all. Depends on how you define power and how you define oppression. That doesn't mean oppressive acts don't happen, but it's not the way it's understood here. Western media and Western feminists have a way of exaggerating. I heard that from the rest of Asia, because I also travel a lot. A lot of Chinese scholars told me the same thing. So they have a way of getting attention by focusing on something out of context also.
Right.
And making, if it happened 3 times, it's happening all over India. You're forgetting it's billions of people there. So if 3 sotis happen, like wife burning, they're reporting it at every corner.
Right, right. Well, you know, the media theory is if it bleeds, it leads. So,
is that what it is?
Yeah,
Right.
so...
And it's here too, and I think you're right. In India too, they have many misconceptions about American women, which are not true.
Oh, yes, I'm aware of that. So anyone who's ever had the experience of traveling in India has, as a woman, has had the experience that the Indian men expect a certain behavior from them and are totally stunned whenever that's not the way we behave.
Right.
And so, but you mentioned that Durga is the dividing point. So tell us a little bit about Durga and why you believe that.
I don't think Durga alone is the dividing point. She's a goddess. The word in Sanskrit is Devi. Devi comes from the root Dev, means to shine. So it comes from the definition of divine. You know, divine is genderless. We don't call him or her.
Right.
But out of that came two strands. You have definitely pantheon of gods and pantheon of goddesses. It seems like at the present time, or as long as I remember, or even before that, pantheon of goddesses take precedence. You know? They're very powerful, these goddesses are. And Durga is only one of them. Durga is a warrior, next is Kali, but that's another variation of Durga also. The storyline is extremely complex. The same divine feminine appears in different places with different names and forms. So therefore it's confusing and very ambiguous at times. So I wouldn't say she's the only one, but she is, in one sense, she was a mother and a wife. Definitely mother with 4 children, and she had the guts to walk out. In the mythic story that they're narrating, she walked out from her husband's home and marched back to her natal home. That's a transition. You know. She came back to her husband, but taught him a lesson in the meantime, and gone to war without skipping a bit, pretty much. And so it seems like she's pretty fluid, and that fluidity comes from, I think, a sense of independence, a strong sense of identity. And I think in my life, I have seen that in my family, whether they're my aunts or my both grandmothers, or especially my mother or sister. They do have a very strong sense of identity. They are not aggressive that much. They may appear to be submissive to an outsider, definitely not to me. But I think Durga is the embodiment of those ambiguities on one level, yet a strong sense of being on the other. So then you have to take in the way you understand her. It's almost like she's as fluid, even though there's a straight line of story. I think it's like, I don't know whether it happened to you, but when I was in high school, we had to read all the classics. And I was reading Tolstoy's. I was reading, and my father told me every few years I should touch as many classics as I can. I said, I already read it. And he said, but your understanding of the text will change as you change. I think Durga would be that. Yeah,
it's not the same person reading the book that read the book before. And there's, even in any book, there's more nuance that you can explore whenever you read it. The thing I was thinking whenever you were talking about the women being submissive, for one thing, I've never noticed Indian women being submissive.
Thank you so much.
I know, never noticed it at all. I know many Indian women.
And they are definitely not submissive.
No.
I don't know who came up with that idea in the West, you know.
No, and their husbands are very aware of the fact they're not submissive.
Exactly. You're so right.
But I have a
like
friend,
Durga, Shiva was heartbroken over her.
Yeah, and so I have a friend who's in Egypt, and he talks about, he says, well, people talk about the Egyptian women being suppressed, and the Arabic women. He says, that's not true.
That's not true.
He says, here's the way it is. The man is the head of the family.
Mm-hmm.
The woman is the neck. The head does nothing without the neck. And, you know, he's very clear that the women have a tremendous amount of power.
Tremendous amount of power. And I think Durga is asking you to explore that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the example that I was giving Neo. Mm-hmm. Everybody's waiting for Neo to come and rescue humanity from that matrix. And we have our own predicament, but we're not waiting for a savior. Mm-hmm. We are our saviors.
Right.
But there's a collective consciousness. And the women have that, this wonderful thing that we have. We could be bonding much faster than this many men in the room.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And we bond, we exchange, and we relate, and we have a sense of completeness in that. Mm-hmm. And I think there's a power to it. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm not saying that we don't divide ourselves. Of course we do. But I definitely, am I not? Do you think?
I think that women have a choice as to whether or not they're going to set themselves apart from and say, you know, I'm better than those, or those are better than me, and therefore I can't relate to those people, those women, those whatever they are. Or you have the opportunity to say that we are women. We are women, we bleed, we have children, we care more.
Right.
I mean, it has been proven in Europe that a corporation which has a certain percentage of women on the board of directors, about 20%, is a better corporation.
Right.
Not only is it a better corporation for the social mores of the way they treat their employees, it also makes more money.
Right. Right.
So there's a movement afoot in Europe to have a certain percentage of the boards of directors to be women's by 2020. And I think it's 20 by 2020 or 40 by 2020. I can't remember which. But the point is that there are corporations which they make better choices, better for their employees, better for the company, better for the world, when there are more women involved in the decision making.
Right. Then it's gender neutral. You know, if you keep only one gender on the board, then it's going to be very partial, prejudiced, and you know, it kind of, they would take a separatist attitude.
Right.
And I think when women are there, they neutralizes. I mean, they will neutralize those boundaries, and becomes much more fluid. People think if you're fluid and if you're flexible, you're weak. Mm-hmm. I don't think so. Water is a great example of that.
Right. Water
could chisel down a rough stone into a smooth pebble, and that requires a lot of power. Mm-hmm. So I'm not saying we are flexible to the point that we are wishy-washy or we can't make up our mind, but I think we are powerful enough to be flexible. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. I think there's also as women, we have the majority of us have a great skill. And an example of this is two women in a restroom. They've never met each other before. And they will have the most honest conversation standing in front of the mirror in the restroom.
It's true, isn't it?
You know, about their children, their husband, their family, whatever is going on in their life. They may never see each other again, but the truth is that they immediately are bonded by the fact that they are women and they can have this conversation.
Right.
And they can tell the absolute truth. Right. Whereas two men in a restroom are never going to have a conversation.
Well, even if they do,
unless they knew each other.
It's going to be so superficial in some ways. I'm not saying all women do that or all men do that. But you're right. You know, general tendency is so that we can, But see, up until now, I think patriarchy saw that and thought that we are not rational enough. That if we are so emotional, we must lack rationality. But we can have both. They're not mutually exclusive.
No.
Just because you are highly emotional doesn't mean you're highly irrational. You could be emotional in the area, emotional being in different areas where you don't have to lose your rationality.
The idea of emotional...
I could be rational about my faith or my religion or my mother or my family. That doesn't make me an irrational person.
No, it doesn't. And the other thing is the emotional intelligence.
Right.
Is something that they're finding that is very, very important, and it's one of the problems that some children have, is they have no emotional intelligence, and so they make extremely irrational decisions.
Right.
Based on not enough information.
Right. An extreme form.
Yeah. So I agree, and I do. I love Durga. I have always loved Durga. I have a little necklace that someone gave me many, many years ago that shows her riding on the back of a tiger. I think it is lion. Yeah, and not sure how lions got to India, but
you're absolutely right. I think someone was telling me that it's not indigenous, or maybe they were wiped out. We don't know that. Who knows? But that's an interesting thought. I'm going to look into it. Why lion and not tiger? Although there are other goddesses that prefer tiger. They all have different animals as their vehicle or transportation.
Yeah.
That shows their affinity with nature.
Yeah. I think that it's the idea of riding power. It's, Sekhmet, which is the goddess that's in the middle of the temple in here. And her name literally means feminine power.
Right.
And she was the goddess that had many, many temples built to her. And people misunderstood. They said, well, she's the goddess of plague and disease. And, she's the one that tried to eat humanity. Yes, but she's also the one that saved humanity. She's also the one that can cure the plagues. So it is with power. Power is neutral, and this is the thing I think.
The way you use it.
It is how you use that.
Right.
And the electricity that is running the lights in this room can cook your dinner.
Right, and burn me up.
And burn you up. I mean, it's the same power. It doesn't care. It has no emotional content to it, and so addressing that power and putting that energy as personifying that power. I think that, and this is something I really believe, because I believe that I have 2 different books, The Goddess Initiations and Wild Women, and it's the idea that we not only know the nice goddesses, the Isis, not that I have anything against Isis, but we also should know Nephthys. We should, we should know Saraswati, but we should also know Durga, because we embody both of them.
It's the bipolarity of the symbols. We don't recognize that they're very, again, relative, depending on what you're explaining. It can take a life of its own.
Right.
The same red color could be destructive to someone, and very constructive to somebody.
Right.
It's the power color. But again, I heard the red could be also very destructive. So we don't know. So it's like, I'm going to Buddhism a little bit.
That's okay.
Things just are, or even in Hinduism, things just are. They're neither this nor that.
That which
our
is
reflection,
is. It is our railing.
It
is our railing against what is that causes us pain.
Right.
And if we can realize that and move into a place where we can say, oh, here I need more power.
Right.
Here I need to drop back.
Right, exactly. And then people mistake that for, oh, you are powerless or you're weak. But no, you decide what you're going to do with the power inherent in you.
Wow, I think that's so important. And I sure do wish I had found you as a teacher whenever I was out going to school, because I was
that is
nobody.
The greatest compliment. Thank you.
So you're at Glendale College.
Yeah, but I taught at Cal State System almost for 10 years, 9 to 10 years.
Yeah.
Before I came here, but now here I'm here for many years also. Yeah.
So you like teaching at the local college?
I love it because it's the impressionable minds. You know, you can put your seeds. It's the perfect time.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for the work you do. We really appreciate it. Thank you for coming and talking to us today. We really, really appreciate it, and we honor you for the work you're doing.
And it goes both ways. You know, I've been honored to be invited and to be interviewed.
Thank you.